What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we preview this weekend's Big 12 Outdoor Track and Field Championship here in Waco and the Big 12 Softball Championship in Oklahoma City. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Thursday, May 9th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside good friend and better known as the Baylor Bear insider, Jerry Hill. Jerry, I had a great time on yesterday's show. You know I love talking hoops, and I thought that was a great show. But today, looking forward to this one as well. I got my, you can't see it here, the camera, but Baylor Track and Field. There we go. Baylor Track and Field. Let's start with them. So they're hosting the Outdoor Championships for the Big 12. It's been a few years. You can tell us when the last time that was, but your thoughts on this weekend ahead and how important it is as it gets underway today.
Yeah, it's always great to be able to host the Big 12. And when you think about how we've expanded the conference, we got 4 new teams in this year. And I think it's great to be able to host it right here at the Clyde Hart Track and Field Stadium. And yeah, the last time was 2018. So 6 years ago, the track had not been open that long, when they hosted that. But obviously that was part of the reason why they got to host is they had a new facility and hosted it there in Waco. And it actually was a really good meet. Baylor, I believe, won 6 event titles, a lot in the sprints. Michael Ford, who was, an assistant at that point, a lot of his sprint crew, won some event titles. So it really had a good meet. This year, coming into this meet, it seems like Baylor is more like field dominated. They have some really good field performers, so it'd be interesting to see how they do. But, I look for, like the 4x4s and 4x1s. I look for those relays to really step up big. Nice to be able to run on your home track, one that you practice on pretty much every day. So I think that is an advantage for you, and hopefully they take advantage of that, kind of the home field advantage. So be fun. Starts Thursday and runs, through the weekend through Saturday, and be great having it here in Waco.
Yeah, both these teams have been in the top 25 at times throughout the season on both sides. And Alexis Brown, really one of the standouts on the women's side. Nathaniel Ezekiel on the men's side. A couple people, kind of star watch players to watch on both sides. But, this track's brand new. So if you haven't been out to the Baylor Track and Field Stadium for a few years, you're going to see some new branding, a new look to it, brand new track. So deep investment there to get this, and I'm sure it helped having the Big 12 outdoors and just trying to make this track as good as it can be. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, is it a blessing or a curse to host this? You would think it's a blessing, but there's also pressure. But as RG3 once said, no pressure, no diamonds. You want the pressure. So I say it's 100%. I don't see any negatives hosting.
I think it's just maybe the more on your staff and stuff. Certainly have a lot of volunteers that will take care of a lot of it. But I'm sure in Michael Ford's shoes, for example, he wants to make sure everything is just right. So is his focus distracted a little bit to make sure all the little details are in place? He has other people for that, but I think that would be kind of the only negative is that you're hosting it at your facility, and you want to make sure everybody, has everything they need. You want to make sure the meet runs off exactly as it is scheduled to. You got to make sure you have all the volunteers in place. I'm sure the Big 12 helps with that as well, but you've got to have a lot of people in place. It takes a lot of people to run a meet like this, particularly with this many teams over a 3-day meet. That's a lot on that. But yeah, I don't think it's anything but a positive in terms. I mean, if you think about the student athletes, if you think about the ones that are actually competing, I think it's nothing but a positive for them because they can, they sleep in their own beds at night. They, can keep with the same routine, and they're competing at their place, their home, and this is where they're comfortable. So yeah, I think it'll be great for them. Like I said, I think maybe a little bit more on the coaches and staff and stuff, but I think as far as the student athletes, I don't think they could ask for a better situation than what you've got this weekend.
Fair points. So, hey, in anything, if you want to find a negative, Jerry, you know this because you're kind of negative. I'm kidding. But there's always a negative if you want to go find it. Just like there's always a positive if you want to go find it. You know, no matter what the event, I don't care. You know, the other night I'm watching some NBA action and a team gets beat by 30. There's still even positives there for the team that lost. Maybe a player or two had good games and things like that. So you can always, circle it up. That's why you want a little bit more positivity in your life than negativity, because you can always find one or the other. But yes, I would say it's like a hosting situation, right? Michael Ford, it depends on the personality of the coach. Are they an introvert, an extrovert? Obviously, most coaches generally are more on that extroverted side. But do you like to host? I never like to host parties because, your house, you got to clean it up, right? You got to do all that. You got to obviously pay or find a way to get all the things there. Like, let's say you're hosting a Super Bowl party. And then there's all sorts of, you got to keep everybody entertained, everybody having a good time, making sure there's no issues in the house. If there's a Super Bowl, there might be a couple dudes going at each other and trying to pick a fight or something. And then you have to worry about the cleanup. So there's a lot of work when you host a party or host something. And so certainly the same can be said here. You're hosting it. And for many of these teams, for some of them, they won't come back to Baylor for a long time. I mean, it's not every year that all these teams are coming. And so, a situation where the next time we host the outdoor championships, it'll be in 2030s. It'll be in the 2030s. And that's a long time away from now.
Yeah, hosting a party, man. Justin, you're just telling way too much about yourself. When you were talking about cleaning up for a party, I was thinking about my wife, because there for a little bit we had cleaners that would come to the house, but she would clean before the cleaners came. Does that make sense? Like, she would make sure there was some stuff, she didn't want it to be like just a junk. So she would clean up before the cleaners came. So maybe a little bit of that going on this week, that they want to make sure everything is pristine. You do want to present your facility in the best possible way. And I think that's the only, little bit of a mindset is you do want, this is your chance to showcase your facility. So you want it to look as good as it can. And you want to put on a good party. You hope that you're doing most of the celebrating, but you do want to put on a good party for them.
Yeah, and let's not forget, in this world of NIL and transfer portal, every time you host someone, every time you bring someone to the city, anytime you bring someone to Waco, whether it's a staffer, a coach, a student athlete, it's always an opportunity for them to see what you have to offer. And so, yes, you want to put on a show, because you never know, especially in these days. Big 12 conference, we've seen it left and right. You're seeing it all the time. There's a couple former dudes that are making their way out to Utah that used to play with Baylor men's basketball. So you see it all the time, this interconference transferring. And so you have an opportunity to show them in person what it's like to see Waco, Texas, what it's like to be around the track and field stadium. So that's a unique aspect here too, that we cannot lose sight, because it's a different world. College athletics is not what it used to be. And I'm excited to see the transformation and what happens. And if you're willing to adapt and change and evolve, you can be out front. And that's what I hope that we're able to do in the future.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, this is a chance, because you do never know. You don't know who's going in the portal right now. I mean, you don't know who's available. So this could be a little bit of showcase for that as well. That's kind of the other side that I'm, and I know you're more of a fan of like transfer portal and NIL than I am, but I guess I'm that grumpy old man. But yeah, I think it is a chance to showcase for that as well. And I'm not saying you sit there and scout other teams' talent, but certainly it's a chance for the talent coming in to take a look at you.
Yeah, I'm Jerry, you know this. I'm a fan of winning. Okay. And I'm a fan of doing it the right way, but winning. And so, yes, if other schools are hitting the portal and doing it and winning and having success, you better believe I'm all about it. Let's go after it. Let's be on the cutting edge. Let's be the people who look to us to follow us. Let's be proactive. Let's be out front. Those are the kind of things. That's what leaders do, right? Leaders create a vision and set a path forward, and other people follow them. And certainly for Baylor athletics, you think about it, over the last 10, 15 years, we've done that in the Big 12 conference, right up there. One of the top schools in terms of Big 12 championships won, over that stretch there. So, yeah, in terms of hosting, are you a good host? Would you want to host a party? Personally, for me, I kind of, I can be a little bit introverted and extroverted. I can, mix between the two. Obviously, we're doing a podcast. I do like to talk, so I'm maybe a little bit more on the extroverted side. But when I'm watching a game, like I'm watching the Avs Stars the other night, I don't want to watch that with anybody else. So I guess that makes me an introvert. But I don't like to host parties. I don't want to host at all. So where do you lie there?
Oh, I'm definitely, and I am definitely an extrovert. And it is funny. My wife is very introverted, so I guess we balance each other. And yeah, I do like to host parties. I don't like the cleanup afterwards, but yeah, I do like to do that. I can think back to, and I don't remember the year, but Baylor had a former receiver named John Martin that got into the music business in Nashville and all that, and actually did the score for one of it was Burt Reynolds' last movie. He did the score for it. But anyway, John was doing this home tour, like he was touring all these different cities, around the U.S. And when he came to Waco, he came to Jerry Hill's house. We didn't have a ton of people there, and his deal was just to kind of get his music out. That was his way. And I will say, he did sell out every CD that he had. But yeah, it was fun. Loved it. I would do that again. I don't think John's doing the house tour anymore, but that was a lot of fun. And we've done that a couple times where I think maybe for my wife's party one year, we had a group come and play in the backyard. So we've done a little bit of that.
Okay. Learn something new every day. I did not know that about you, Jerry, but okay. And Jerry, if he's hosting things, just for the listeners out there and the viewers, I've never been invited, but I think some of you already knew that. Not that we don't get along, but we just see each other enough that Jerry doesn't want to see me after work.
It's really my wife. She knows that we spend way too much time together, so she definitely does not want to see you at the house too. So she has forbade me from inviting you to the house.
Okay, man, that's wild. My wife, Hilda, I don't think she's ever said that. She thinks highly of you, Jerry. She actually probably feels bad for you that you have to put up with me and listen and talk to me most days.
Man. Yeah. I mean, when I refer to you as my work spouse, my wife doesn't like that. But all the texts and stuff that I get, and just, I mean, we do spend a lot of time together. So yeah. And I'm joking about my wife forbidding me from inviting you. I'm going to invite
Are
you
you?
now.
Oh, are you?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to invite you to my house. Maybe for a swim party. How about that?
Okay. As long as you bring the food, like a good host, you'll have it set
There
up
you
there.
go.
All right. So yeah, track and field this weekend. Come on out. If you haven't been out to a track event here in Baylor in a few years, this is the weekend to come, right? It's going to be a pretty solid weather. You come out, you see the best of the best in Big 12 track. And so it's one of the better conferences in track. And so looking forward to that. Also, a lot going on in the Big 12 is it's kind of, championship season, conference tournaments and things of that nature. Big 12 softball championship going on up in Oklahoma City. And the Bears are the number 4 seed, UCF the number 5 seed. I know we had Corey Bolts on earlier in the week, and we gave a full preview of the softball championship, but first time talking to Jerry on it. Jerry, not an easy matchup for Baylor. They swept UCF during the regular season here at home in Waco. But as we know in sports, it's very difficult to beat a team, 2 or 3 times. But in this case, Baylor will have to beat UCF a 4th time this season if they want to advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, and if you look back at that series a few weeks ago, yes, Baylor swept the series. You know how many runs they scored total? 4. So they outscored them 4-1 in that series and swept all 3 games. So you almost expect this to be, a pitching dominated game, and certainly UCF will come in with a lot of motivation. Because that was at a point where they were actually ahead of us in the standings and with a chance to kind of solidify that spot. And they struggled down the stretch. But this is a team that's very capable. They have a really good ace pitcher, Willis, I believe, and she pitched in a couple of the games here in Waco. So you kind of expect to see her pitch, probably against either Aaliyah or Riley. But yeah, it's a tough road. I mean, obviously this league has, 3 of probably the top 5 or 6 teams in the country. You would face Texas in that in the semifinals. So you just want to get past this first one and have a chance. That's the thing. We've talked about winning Big 12 championships. Guess what? You could win a Big 12 championship by winning 3 games. That's all you got to do. Of course, 2 of those games are probably against top 5 teams, but yeah, I mean, that's how close you are is you can win a Big 12 championship just by winning 3 games. So 3 games, 3 days against some really good competition. But that's out there, Justin. And I do think if you play well here, you have at least an outside shot to host a regional. It's still there. Baylor's RPI and stuff is close enough where if you have a really good showing at the Big 12 tournament, I think you're at least in the conversation to host a regional.
Jerry made it sound so easy, but hey, I'll say this much once again. If softball can win this Big 12 championship, you're talking about a major memory. This would be a big time highlight moment in the last decade for the Baylor softball team. They've made some College World Series, but I don't know, you'd have to ask Glenn Moore where it ranks, if you win a Big 12 softball championship, because, for a while there, they weren't doing a tournament, right? And then they kind of brought that back into the mix, but it would have to be up there, particularly because of who you have to beat to win this. And so, yes, UCF will not be easy. You have to beat them for a 4th time. Then you're likely to play Texas. And Texas, the number 1 RPI team in America, the number 1 team in the country, Big 12 softball champions. And then if you're able to beat them, you get the reward, the honor to play one of the Oklahoma schools, which we know are also really good. Oklahoma, they're number 2 in the RPI. Oklahoma State down there about 7, 8, 9. But all those teams have been really top 5 all season long. So, I mean, it's just a run that would be magical if we could win it. And I like thinking about it because it would be tremendous. And so I'm hoping our players and everybody is kind of picturing this, because sometimes in goals, and that's the goal, right? If you have little goals like, hey, let's just win this first round game or the second round game, the first game, that's not good enough. You got to have goals that are bigger than that. And so, Jerry, I hope you're doing these in your performance evaluations. You have big goals. You set yourself up for big goals. You try to achieve them. If you fall short, at least you're going to be doing some really good things because you have those lofty goals. And so that's, once again, I know you teach a class, you probably tell your students, hey, you're going for 100. And if that's your goal to get 100% in the class, yeah, that's a little unreasonable. But if you shoot for 100, maybe you get a 92, and that's pretty daggone good.
They're not going to make 100 in my class. I would not allow that to happen. But yeah, I get your point. I mean, the cliche, shoot for the moon, you get the stars, that kind of thing. And I do. I think they need to have that mindset. Certainly not the pressure, knowing that, maybe you do have to win the championship to get a host site. Not that kind of pressure, but more the reward. Like, you're playing for a trophy, and there's not many teams that get to do that. So, yeah, they've never won the Big 12 tournament. Justin. They've won one Big 12 regular season championship. And like you said, there were several years there where they didn't have the Big 12 tournament. But yeah, they have not had a lot of success even up there in Oklahoma City. So you'd like for them to have a little success this year, kind of continue the momentum that's built here late in the year, where you've won 9 consecutive conference games. You were 5-13 at one point. You finished over 500, 14-13, fourth by yourself behind those 3 teams. And I look back, we were 1-8 against those 3 teams. But we were in a lot of those games. There were a couple of games against Oklahoma. We beat them once, but, there were a couple of games that we kind of gave away late in the game. So I think maybe we're closer than some people would think. Obviously Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma, those are all great teams. They're all going to host, probably will be super regional type hosts. But yeah, I mean, that's your path. Go try to win one, and all you got to do is win tonight, and kind of set yourself up for then, hey, guess what? Now it's down to 2. I know I made it easy, but, now it's down to 2 games and to win a Big 12 championship and hoist that trophy at the end.
Yeah, I do like the single elimination format, though. You obviously get double elimination when you get to the regional, but in terms of this, yeah, 1 loss, you're out. And so I think that provides some opportunity, because as we know in other sports, if the longer you play, the more likely, on paper, the more likely the team on paper wins the longer you play. And that's why the NCAA tournament is so crazy, because you get 1 game format. And so, yes, I would say for everyone, this is one of those situations we talk about a lot with Big 12 basketball. If you can win the Big 12 conference, that's as hard as winning basically the national championship. And that could be true to softball, because the teams you're going to have to go through, the Texas, Oklahoma States, those are teams that I would think most people in the softball world would pencil in to go to the Women's College World Series right now. And so, the odds are stacked against them, but I think that Baylor has done a great job many times being the underdog, and hey, not many people are going to believe in them. Just the people that are on that team and back in Waco, Texas, and their families, and all the Baylor fans out there. But hey, go shock the world, right? Go do something that a lot of people don't think you can do, and that's the opportunity that's in front of you. And I think that's a strong case. I know Glenn Moore and their staff will be ready to go, and it's just really about the execution, right? Can the players execute? Can they pitch it? And can they hit it?
And I do like the fact that they're at least starting to get a little healthier. We've talked about it in the past, how many players they've lost, how many players are out for the season, that kind of thing. But they are starting to get some players back. Abby Flores played a little bit against Houston, so she's kind of back in the fold, and will probably play quite a bit more this weekend. And then I believe Shannon Vovoda is back as well. So you're starting to get a few of those pieces back and at least have options. For down this stretch, Glenn Moore has not had a lot of options to go to. It's like, okay, I can put this one in as a pinch runner, and that's about my bench. So yeah, I think now at least he has a few options going into the Big 12 tournament. And to your point about the single elimination versus double elimination, I like it in this sense. This is the weekend before regionals start. Do you really want to wear out your pitching for this tournament? So I think that sets everybody up better when you can just play, a maximum of 3 or 4 games, and then you still have all that pitching to begin a regional that will start next weekend, next Friday. So yeah, I like that part of it. But yeah, let's go win one and then move on to regionals.
Baylor begins its Big 12 championship quest tonight, 7:30 Central Time on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus against UCF. That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Thursday, and Sic 'em Bears.
Sic 'em Bears.